So I normally talk about how to build UI animations, but today we're going to talk about why. Should you just animate everything on your website? Probably not. Let's take a look at a few examples. So the most common and useful place for animations in my experience is for confirming user intent. The most basic example of this that we see every day is things like loading states. You know, when a user clicks on something, they expect something to happen. If they don't see something happen, they're probably going to think that something broke. For this example that I have here, a user clicks on a button, which generates a loading state, which then transitions to a success or an error state after a request or something completes. Code for all of the examples in this video, by the way, are built with React and Framer Motion, and they are all available on my website, link in the description. Anyways, let's move to the next example. An extension to confirming user intent is helping to visualize page transitions or movements around the page. By example, I've got this table here, which shifts and sorts these columns around or these rows around as users click on these little arrows. Given that I'm not actually animating these between positions, it can be a little bit hard to actually follow which rows are going where. You know, in real life, things don't actually happen immediately, and that's why a simple layout animation like this can really help the user to follow the input that they just gave and what that actually changed on the screen. Another good example of this is something like Kanban boards, which I'm sure we're all used to using. A smooth animation of cards going between columns could really help us, again, with the same problem of visualizing our input and what it actually changed. So in short, if you're moving the same item from one place to another, consider animating it. If you ever need to get across the message that there is a lot of something, animation is a great way to do it. You see this all the time with logo and testimonial sliders and things like these ones. A user who's visiting your page is probably not going to take the time to sit here and actually count how many logos or testimonials you have, but the way that they're presented gives off the idea of, hey, a bunch of companies trust us, you should probably trust us too. Another example could be something like this title swap animation. What this is really trying to say is, hey, we do this thing, we do it for a whole lot of people, and that probably includes people like you. If you need to convey scale, an animation is a great way to do it. Parallel to this is preventing content overload. An example of this that I could show is something like this features section from this template that I'm working on. I have 4 separate sections here, but I don't want to actually add them, one after the other, all taking up a whole bunch of space on the page because they're really all kind of grouped together. So instead, I've just collapsed them into one section and then let the user transition through each of these tabs. The animation as we switch tabs helps us to show the user, hey, this is what actually changed based on what you just clicked. And this lets us progressively reveal content in a way that's engaging and prevents content overload. One more quick example of this could be something like an FAQ section with many categories and many questions, where we don't actually just want to drop all of this content in one spot and take up a bunch of space and make it more confusing for our users. Finally, it is totally okay to do stuff just because you think it's fun. Is making a dark mode toggle like this one with a moon and a sun and stars and clouds and stuff necessary? Of course not. But as long as it doesn't actually get in the way of the functionality, it can add memorable character that places your brand in somebody's mind. A great real world example of this for me is something like cal.com. I don't personally use scheduling apps or anything like theirs, but I can guarantee that if I did need one at some point, the first place that I would come and look would be cal.com, mainly just because they give off such an interesting and unique brand, and one way that they help do that is with these really cool, unique animations. Now, of course, this is not an exhaustive list, so I'd love to hear your opinions down below. Maybe some real-world examples of times you've seen animation actually increase the user experience of a page. Again, you can check out components like the one from this video on my website. As mentioned, I'm also working on some templates that will be up soon as well. If this was useful, I would massively appreciate a like and a subscribe. Until next time, peace.